from the News Channel 8 studios, Let's Talk Live with your hosts, Natasha Barrett and Doug McElway.
Countless books have been written about the differences between men and women.
Or women.
There's a big dividing line between the two of us here.
There's a new study out, you may have heard about it. It said it could prove even more when it comes to love if you just look at cars and how men and women treat their cars.
Well, Jess McCann is here to talk about why men and women fall out of love with their cars sooner rather than later when it comes to men, a little bit longer for women. But this is symptomatic. Welcome, by the way, Jess. Symptomatic of the way we look at relationships in general, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. So LeaseTrader contacted me, and if, for anyone who doesn't know about LeaseTrader, it's an online marketplace that helps people get out of their leases and put other people into the lease without putting down a down payment. Well, they contacted me because they wanted to do this study, and they thought, well, Jess, you're a dating coach. Can you help us figure out the honeymoon period with people in their cars? And it was just really fascinating, the results, because it was the same length of time for men and women when it comes to, well, let's put it this way, men have a much shorter love, infatuation with their car, and women's is probably 4 times as long.
What does it matter if guys see the next best sports car and think, oh, I want that now?
Yeah.
Like eye
yes,
candy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Am I talking your language?
Yeah.
The novelty just seems to wear off, but the interesting thing is, so for men, what we found was it was 4 months of a honeymoon period before they started to really lose that, novelty factor with their car, which the interesting thing is that's exactly the same amount of time with women. Usually the honeymoon period lasts about 4 months when they're dating somebody. And with women and their cars, the honeymoon phase was 14 months.
Interesting.
Which is the same amount of time, really, when it comes to their relationship.
Yeah. With cars, and there are symptoms of you beginning to lose the honeymoon phase of being in love with your car.
Yes.
Certain symptoms, like when I had a new car that I really loved, I would always park at a far distant spot in the the Safeway parking lot.
Away from the others.
So I don't get dings on it. But
yeah, that's the number one.
But when you lose interest, then you don't mind parking
in your car.
In among all the other cars. Right?
Absolutely, that's for guys. For guys, I think the number one was when you stop parking at the other end of the parking lot, just because you don't want to park around someone else. But as men start to lose that that novelty factor, they don't want to cross the parking lot. They don't want to put the effort in, which is the same thing with the relationship, right? They don't want to. They get lazy. And with women, it's a little bit different. We notice that they don't. Women don't do that. They don't park across the parking lot and make sure no one's around them.
Because we have heels to walk in.
Yeah, we just aren't going to do that. So the number one sign that the honeymoon period was over with women was if they let their spouse drive their car, or if they started carpooling with other moms, or putting other kids in the car. So the symptoms were very different between men and women.
There's always that time period of like you're not going to eat in your car, and then you do, or the first time you drop a French fry or something and it goes down under there. Do you care? Are you going to go get it? I think that's also a good sign of when you eat in your car, or maybe when girls put on their makeup.
Yes, those were another two. Or the car, if you eat in the car, and if you smoke in the car, which I don't know if anybody really. I mean, that's obviously pretty dangerous. But smoking in the car was definitely on the list of things that pretty much are symptomatic of losing the honeymoon phase with your car.
This is interesting, though. Talk about, not about cars now, but just the honeymoon phase and when people begin to sort of lose that really star-struck image of their significant other, that, at that point at which Cupid's arrow wears off. Because that's a very real phenomenon. That Cupid's arrow effect is really just hormones run amok, right?
Yeah, I just think it's so interesting that women can stay in that honeymoon phase for 4 times as long as a guy can, which, there's obviously things that you can do to keep a guy interested, but there's not really much you can do about keeping your car interesting to you.
Well, yeah. Why does a woman stay in the honeymoon phase longer? What's going on?
There are a couple of different things, and we haven't finished our research with that, but could have a lot to do with just appreciation. Women seem to, appreciate things a little bit more, and their attention spans don't seem to be as short. But it varies, and it depends if we're talking cars or guys. So the jury is still out on that.
That's all very interesting. But the bottom line is we both eventually lose that kind of really intense romantic interest, and then it comes down to living your life together.
Right. I mean, it's really just about we're all people, and as great as we think we are when we first meet, everyone's got flaws, just like a car has flaws. I mean, you're just going to get to know somebody, and eventually get to know that they're just a real person, and you take them off the pedestal in the honeymoon phase.
The newness rubs off, so to speak.
Wears off, exactly.
So I guess the trick is after that honeymoon period, when you look at your guy and you think, am I really into him? Did I just have those blinders on now? Everybody has that moment in that relationship.
Right. Unfortunately, it seems to take women a lot longer to get to that period, though.
Lucky us.
Right. And the problem is that we end up wasting a lot of time. Whereas guys, I think they kind of know what they want. That's another thing that we're looking into is, do they really get to know what they like faster? And they kind of go, you know what, this isn't what I want. I'm going to get out, just like they do with their leases. I don't like this car anymore. I'm going to get out of it. Where women, it just takes a little bit longer for us to maybe just pull the trigger.
But getting out of a lease prematurely can be really expensive. Getting out of a marriage, prematurely can be even more expensive.
Too bad there's not an online marketplace just to get out of your marriage.
Not yet, right?
Not yet.
Some state's going to come up with it. I mean, you can online to get people married, but maybe it'll come to that somehow, some way.
Or you can trade marriages or trade spouses.
We're giving people
with your
ideas
car.
now.
The new wife comes with the new car.
I think we have a new business going, SpouseTrader.com.
The new wife smell, the new car smell. The new perfume or cologne, right? So maybe the lesson of this is to test drive longer.
Yes, I think that you can test drive longer and really put some thought into the kind of car that you're going to buy or lease. But, if you don't like it, hey, that's what LeaseTrader is out there for, to get out of the lease and pass it on to someone else.
Good advice. Just for kids. Thanks for coming in. That was fun. Coming up on the show, Jay Leno may have been in D.C. this weekend. He was.